favorite furry friend. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. It is episode 824 of Office Hours, the place where we share ideas, innovations, and collaborations. And I have two of my mentors, my friends, my teachers and coaches, Double B, Blaine Bartlett, Bartlett.com, moving possibilities into reality. Hello, my friend. Welcome back.
How you doing, buddy? Hey, it was good to see you and Miles the other day.
Yeah, that was so much fun. We had an incredible board meeting from the Unstoppable Foundation, something Blaine and I and his obviously have dedicated our lives to helping to empower and to capitalize Kenya and Africa, building communities that are sustainable, alongside with the powerful Rhett Power. And he has an amazing book, if you haven't read it, called Head of Mentals. Go to headofmentals.com. Learn not to be a head case with Head of Mentals. There's the book right there. Where the
I figured
F
you didn't
are
have it
you?
with you.
Are you in the Arctic? Because I'm burning up. It's 77 degrees here. I'm burning up.
Man, I'm getting soft in my old age. I think it's like 40 outside, and I'm like got 7 layers on.
I love it. Well, you should.
Well, at least you guys aren't getting blown away. We had over 100 mile an hour winds up here on the island yesterday.
Oh shit!
Oh wow!
I'm glad you're okay. That's serious. Like 40-degree weather is a joke, but that's serious. 100 mile per hour wind. So I'm glad you're okay, Blaine. But Rhett, if you were like me, I carry a sweater around with me wherever I go. And like, if you like to see it, it's right here, keeping me warm.
Got the fur coat on.
I don't know about you guys, but and this is something we probably shouldn't cover on Office Hours. But as I get older, I carry that fur. I used to have more fur there, but I have it in weird places now. Like it shows up in weird.
I know. When you wish you had the hair in your ears as on your head, you're getting old. So I'm only speaking from personal experience. So now that our guests have grown up in their mouths, we'll continue on with episode 824 of Out. Look, there are some advantages, guys. Look, I know on Thursdays we push the envelope. There's not many shows out there that have 3 middle-aged white guys. Okay, so we have big cojones to go ahead and do a show with 3 middle-aged white guys. And now the jokes that we're telling, why people don't like those with just 3 middle-aged white guys. So I will continue on nonetheless. Let's bring on another middle-aged white guy. Maybe he'll bring Ashlie with him as well. We are blessed to have our friends here today with us. Roy's waiting in the rings. Zwahlen and Ashlie Thomas are here, and they wrote an incredible book that's aligned with what we believe in the race to innovation, unleashing the power of entrepreneurship for everyone. I believe entrepreneurs are going to save the world. Ashlie, first of all, thank you for raising the level of awareness. Joining 4 middle-aged white men is not easy, so we appreciate your bravery and courage. Oh no, we can't even hear it. They're muting you on purpose.
Actually,
this is a conspiracy. This is bullshit. Gigi, you're doing this. You cannot do this. This is intentional. I can tell our producer. She is a young woman. She wouldn't do this intentionally. There she is, embarrassed. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Ashlie, can you hear us? Oh, we can't.
We can't hear you.
Ashlie log in.
Can't hear you, Ashlie.
I'll start with Roy. We'll start there. Thank you, Gigi. So moreover, Roy, I have a philosophy for myself that it's the entrepreneurs that are going to save the world. I believe in sustainable technologies and practices only for one reason. They're not going to solve the problem, but they'll give entrepreneurs the time to create the solution. So our hole in the atmosphere, plastics in the ocean, we just need time for the entrepreneur to turn that plastic into food or whatever else they're able to do today. But it's been that that process that entrepreneurs save the world. We create the problems and then we create the solutions. It's just a lot of time between the problem and the solution. You talk about racing to innovation. We need to move faster today, though, because technology is moving everything faster.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the case. And on top of can be applied to solve some of the world's most toughest problems, we also need to be thinking about who the entrepreneurs are. And that's really what inspired this book. People like Ashlie, actually one of our co-authors, and her really fascinating background in life, but really taking back and asking the fundamental question of where else can we look to enable great entrepreneurs and communities that often don't have the infrastructure, don't have the know-how, don't have the support. And we were inspired by these communities, and that really led to this book.
Amazing. Ashley, you want to try to speak up again and unmute yourself?
All right. Can you guys hear me?
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is just has been an amazing experience being able to write this book with Roy and John. Everyone brought a lot of expertise, whether it is from being experts in the innovation and entrepreneurship space or corporate space, or really just living and walking out the entrepreneurial path. And that's where we were all able, including Ruben and Maya, we were all able to bring in that expertise for this book. And so I look forward to be able to kind of talk a bit about what those experiences look like and what does this mean for what we've covered in the book.
Well, speaking about talking about it a little bit more detail here, when we think of agriculture, and I'll just kind of hone in on that and focus on that. I grew up on a farm, and I live on 11 acres up here on an island. And so there's all kinds of stuff growing everywhere. I typically do not think of entrepreneurship in a context of agricultural, particularly in today's day and age. Where does the intersection come into play for you? And I know that you've got a major voice in this book. What are some examples that you actually can cite about how entrepreneurship can actually be leveraged, particularly in the agricultural space at this point in time?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And I love hearing that a lot of folks have connections back to the farm. It's kind of like metaphorical for coming back to the land. Everything starts with the land. But I really have to give credit to Roy, John, and our experience with working together to really understand any entrepreneurial opportunities that arose in the spaces that I was working in. So yes, I was kind of working as a social entrepreneur, really primarily around nutrition security and how it intersects with agriculture and farming and gardening. And we just kind of being an EIR and serving as a mentee at one point, and then serving as a leader right alongside with Roy and John. This has been such a wonderful experience to understand what type of opportunities and challenges are in the space, but even more, how do we collaborate with other experts to really build these more sustainable solutions that can last a lifetime and that can actually generate something that is profitable.
Great. Thank you.
Rhett, unmute yourself. I need
So-
your background.
What's the inspiration for the book? I mean, I hear all of this, and I hear entrepreneurship, and I look at like sort of the global development goals, and solving things like starvation, and is the hope here that ultimately this is going to help farmers around the world and other places? Talk a little bit about sort of what you want to see, the big problem that you guys want to solve here.
Yeah, I think I'll jump in, and Ashlie, please jump in as well. But inspiration for the book is really, we started this book back in 2020 at the height of some of the challenges we were having socially in our country around the African American experience, and really thinking through that. And as we worked through that as an Eshelman innovation shop, right, as an innovation team, we thought about, well, what does that mean in our world? And we as we dug deeper and deeper into the history, the stories of entrepreneurship and innovation in the African American community, we were inspired and actually saw a lot of what we think are key principles for innovation and engaging more generally, but also engaging with these communities to really solve the problems you just laid out at the end, Rhett, right? That people that can actually drive entrepreneurship in spite of all the barriers is probably from just a user experience, user design, bring those skill sets to the table. Those are the outliers you want to look at to try to understand what is that secret sauce that can drive those solutions. And I think one of the principles we talk about in the book is called unique lens that scales. And the idea is that people in these communities, these underserved communities, minority communities, whether that's racially or even just different intellectual training backgrounds, we think about diversity very broadly in this book. But the idea is by engaging people that don't think like us, maybe don't look like us, have different lived experiences, they're going to have really unique solutions to problems that we've never thought of because it's outside of our training, outside of our lived experience. And really, it is about unlocking that potential, unlocking those ideas and helping them scale, because it's not just about benefiting that community. It's about ideas that can come from that community to benefit the world. Ashlie, anything to add to that?
No, I think you were spot on, Roy. And really what we're emphasizing here is the importance of collaboration. What does collaboration look like? We often hear the term, but what does it look like in practice? And then what does that look like for everyone in terms of moving getting to solutions to some of these bigger problems? And you guys highlighted agriculture, but we cover several different industries in the book. And I think that speaks to how scalable this approach could be, where it's not just applied with, food security, nutrition security, and opportunities engulfed, as I see in the chat, but also, cosmetics, healthcare. We've even seen it in the food space, in culinary. And so there are many opportunities that could arise when you collaborate and when you recognize the assets within all of these communities, these diverse communities.
And as Blaine and I especially are aware of, with over 20 years of work in the Unstoppable Foundation and building a school of entrepreneurship in Kenya, in the Masai Mara, understanding the impact that innovation has in all levels, as well as created funding specifically to bridge capital to women and women of color because of the significant atrocity not capitalizing our most powerful resource in the world, which in my opinion is women, and then add on to women of color in the unbelievable ignoring of our great assets. So I also just, as we finish up, and we'll invite you back, so we need more time to delve into the book, critical business issues. I just can't stop thinking about this as a modern day good to great. And, reading Colin, the amount of research in the way that he weaved together the stories of these diverse innovators of the past, and interviewed and researched the articles of, their days of the innovation great in a quantitative way, to really enhance the lived experiences and these innovations in all industries through personal leadership. And today's personal leaders are more entrepreneurial than the executives that existed from the 70s to the 2000s in Colin's book, Good to Great. But if you want a modern day good to great, if you want to be great, read Race to Innovation, unleash your power of entrepreneurship, not just for yourself, but for everyone. It takes great leaders like Roy Zwahlen and Ashlie Thomas to lead the way. We appreciate them, what they do. Thank you so much for writing this book and inspiring so many to change the world and maybe even save it. Well, guys, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right on. What great entrepreneurs, man. That book's almost as good as Fundamentals. I'm telling you, it's hard to beat. You got Good to Great, and Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, and you got the innovation. But if you really want to change your life, read Fundamentals. Hold it up, Blaine.
One more time.
It'll blow your mind. Fundamentals will blow your mind. And after you're done with Fundamentals at the Super Bowl, just don't forget my book. Pre-order it. Don't do business with dicks. Yes, a reminder. Not Dick Sporting Good, but assholes. Okay. All right. Anyway, our next guest is
instant class.
That's an instant class here.
That's going to be an instant classic.
Oh, don't forget Compassionate Capitalism.
My
flying
goodness
off the
gracious.
shelves. You know, Compassionate Capitalism was the inspiration for the title of books, because that book is so good, but nobody walks by a book called Compassionate Capitalism and is like, oh shit, I got to read that. The inside of that book is so good. I decided to do the opposite this time. Instead of writing a book that has significance on the inside, I just went for the marketing play, a title that everybody would buy. Don't do business with dicks. Buy it
No,
now.
don't see. Now this
I'm
is
not
where you got to
sure
get.
there's any
This is where you
writing.
got. This,
I'm not sure there's any writing in the book. I got to
you got to
admit
get
to everybody.
you got to get your head on here, right, David, because what is inside is excellent. What is inside is excellent.
Well, it might just be blank. It might just be a sucker play to prove to people they just like the title. Remember that guy that wrote the book? He sold 200,000 copies. It was it was something about women, like how to satisfy your woman, and then it was blank in the inside, because and then at the end it said there's no way to satisfy a woman or something. I thought it was really funny. I bought the book as well. Anyway, there is no justice in the world, but the one justice I do know is a young entrepreneur. He is the voice of his generation. If you haven't heard him, we're glad that he's the voice of his generation. His name's Justus Logan, and he is an extraordinary young leader, and we appreciate his character, his integrity, and his drive. Thank you so much, Justus Logan, for joining us here on episode 824 or so of Office Hour.
Thank you, David, for having me. It's an honor, and great to see some faces that I recognize. Good to see you all.
Yeah, I had to mute the background on Rhett. Don't forget. Well, good that you recognize these people, because you know, they're getting old. It's hard for me to recognize them sometimes. They look like the guys I used to know, but they're getting. I can't believe I'm looking that old. Anyway, let's get to what we really want to talk about. Since you're the voice of your generation, it's really important that we build your brand. So there's no possibility of selling a secret, and you are a secret, and we can't sell a secret. So we elevate the voice that you have and the community that you have. You have been coached by the greats, the Blaine Bartletts, the Sharon Lecters, the Jim Novels, the Wilsons, the Les Browns. Even I heard David Meltzer has coached you as well, but we won't hold that against you. Have you learned today why it's important, if you're going to be the voice of your generation, to actually focus in on the branding aspect of your?
David, you're cutting out there a little bit. Yeah, but yes.
Oh, I was saying, why is it important to have a personal brand as the voice of your generation?
Yeah. Well, like you said, and this is where I have great mentors to help me with this, but you can't sell a secret. And so, you know, if nobody knows about you, then they can't really collaborate with you. But, you know, when it comes to my personal brand, and something you've helped me refine is really the message that we are after. And what has inspired me in being a voice for my generation is the fact that one day we will be the generation to carry on and pick up the baton from the generations before us. And that covers a lot of aspects. You know, this isn't just about our communities and our states, but also our country and globally. You know, economically, right now, we're seeing one of the largest wealth shifts between now and 2031, from baby boomers down to the next generations. We're seeing a 30% increase globally of the structuring of family offices and family constitutions. You know, people are really starting to understand that they have to take responsibility and be proactive in their wealth and their legacy planning, and even the solutions that we're bringing to the world. You know, this isn't just about putting Band-Aids on things. This is really being proactive, like, you know, so many entrepreneurs do, in solving problems. And really, when we collaborate together, I believe that mission, purpose, and wealth is multiplied. You know, we see globally, we can be competitive with each other, and that's always kind of kept markets fair. But really, when we start collaborating specifically generationally, you know, reaching back to the generations before us and mentoring and discipling the generations ahead of us, can we really create that continuity to be effective and stewarding our world wisely and sustainably, bringing life, hope, joy, and wealth to everyone.
I am intrigued, Justus, by your work with generational governance, and I'll just use the word that's present on the crib notes that I've got here, but that's a much broader category. I do a fair amount of work with family offices, high net worth, $1 billion plus family offices. And that generational dynamic is fascinating. And it is, in a lot of ways, it's a word I'd use here, almost endemically toxic in one sense when the money comes into play, when the assets start getting discussed around who's got what, who's entitled to what. I mean, all of that stuff comes into play here. And to the point, between now and 2031, what, $8 trillion in wealth approximately is being transferred. And the governance speaks to the legality of it. What are you finding in the familial dynamics that come into play here that can enhance the effective transfer of that wealth? And I don't just mean the monetary wealth, but just the wealth, the brand wealth of the family. Yeah, in part.
Yeah. Well, when we are working with, and I work with family offices from several billion and even down to fractional offices that are running just a couple million. And you're very correct in saying it's very dynamic. You have some families who you're just like, I don't even know why I'm here. But one of the patterns that we have found as we implement the generational governance side is that when there is a common vision and target that they're aiming for, that's generations after them, it actually creates more of a focal point in collaboration than when it's focused on them as an individual. When people are just for the sake of creating wealth for themselves, for consumption, this is where we see a lot of the greed, even the dispersion of wealth, where it's split and then it ends up becoming, over normally even 3 generations, 90% of it is absolutely gone. My mother-in-law is a prime example of this. She grew up in Utah. The Bowman family was an extremely wealthy family, kind of rivaled with the Mormon church and political positions. And over about 9 generations, they saw, going from the largest, one of the wealthiest families in Utah to having pretty much nothing. And it was partly due to the fact that when the wealth was transferred from generation to generation, it wasn't kept in a family type office structure. It was dispersed and passed down. Everybody inherited a portion of it. So it became fractionalized till it became nothing. And so when you keep that centralized and when it serves a purpose beyond yourself, and there's a vision and alignment where everybody can kind of pull together and contribute in their own way, we have seen that to be the most effective strategy.
Yep, spot on. Same here.
All right, so I have a question. I have a prediction, and I want you to make a promise. How about that?
Wow.
Okay. So the prediction is that you'll be president of the United States. That's number one. Number two, the promise is that you're going to have the 3 of us over for dinner one night to talk shop. Number 3, question is, what is your definition of leadership?
My definition of leadership. Wow.
I didn't hear the promise in there.
I promised to have you all and Sharon Lecter. Let's not leave her out. No, I would love to.
He didn't deny that he wants that job one day. That's good. I like that.
I'm going to help him. I'm going to help him get that job. We need him.
When I was 4 years old, I told my dad that I wanted to be president. And I grew up like you, Blaine, on a ranch. I grew up with cattle. And I think that taught me a lot of foundational pieces that has kept me humble, but also has driven me to take ownership of the future. But to answer your question, what is my definition of leadership? My definition of leadership, I guess, could be summed up in service and serving other people. You're not really leading somebody to yourself. It should be your ability to unite people around a common vision. And that vision has to give room for people to be able to express their gifts, their talents, their strengths, and not limit them. Leadership shouldn't minimize others' greatness. It should actually maximize their potential and their greatness. And so I believe that as a leader, all you're doing is drawing that out from inside of people, helping them self-discover it, but also in a given vision, giving them that opportunity to collaborate, express it, and make the team stronger, to maybe strengthen areas that there's weakness, but also to really multiply the efforts and effectiveness of what you're doing in a way that you can't do as an individual.
As I told you, he's the voice of his generation, future president, and I'm looking for, and I know Rhett has experience in this, I'd like to be the diplomat to Bora Bora. I'm sure I could do a lot of good from there. I could change the whole ATVing, water exercise. There's a whole bunch of really big things I could do from Bora Bora. So keep me in mind, Justus. I am happy to take that position, and beyond having dinner at the White House in the new Trump ballroom, which will also be a pleasure to be in as well, considering my tax dollars have gone to increasing our hospitality for diplomats like myself in Bora Bora. Thank you so much, though. A great mentee and mentor. He's the future voice of America right now for his generation, a family office architect, a life architect, a speaker, but most importantly, always puts first a father. Justus, Logan, I'm so proud of you. I love you, and I always have your back. Please come back on Office Hours.
Love you, David. Love you guys. Thank you for the time, and it's an honor to be here.
Great to have you. We'll see you soon. Check him out, Justus Logan, the future president of the United States. And you heard it here first, is a guarantee from Rhett Power. All right, Kirk Anthony Hamilton, welcome to Office Hours out of Kingston, Jamaica. I'm sure he's in a cleanup mode, but he is the co-founder and CEO of Tech Beach Retreat, and he's going to here to help us understand what has occurred and how we can assist in the recovery from Hurricane Melissa. Kirk Anthony, thank you for your service. Thank you for your effort, and thank you for coming on Office Hours.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be on and to meet you all, and really enjoyed the session with your last guest just now.
Yeah, we like to have a lot of fun here, but as much as we enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of our potential, it's people like you with your architectural design background, entrepreneur, investor, but more importantly, you're a community builder like the three of us. And, when we have different struggles, we all have to join together as a community to make it a place. We've done that in the United States. We've done that in the islands for years. How can we help with Tech Beach Retreat and the recovery of the atrocities that have occurred from Hurricane Melissa?
Yeah, so firstly, Dave, I'd love to just set context for your viewers. Hurricane Melissa hit Jamaica on October 28th as the highest recorded hurricane by winds ever to hit anywhere, and caused significant devastation on the island. I am Jamaican. I've never seen anything like this in our country, and it really has been extremely sobering to see Jamaica to some extent on its knees, while at the same time very uplifting to see our people be as resilient as we're known to be in their efforts to recover. We currently have a humanitarian crisis on our hands that I believe is maybe the best opportunity Jamaica has ever seen, barring the life impact that this has had. Jamaica, an island of 3 million people, currently has a measured $9 billion problem that we now need to solve. And the island is calling for global resources, influence, capital, etc., to get involved in the rebuilding exercise that's going to take place here over the next number of years. The call is also for people to understand that this is something that's going to hit this part of the world over and over again, at least for the next decade. And what we need to do is to collect resources in terms of people, technologies, capital, etc., that can help whenever these problems occur. So there is the immediate humanitarian crisis in terms of just getting food and sustenance to people in need. You all might be familiar with organizations like World Central Kitchen that came to Jamaica. They've set up shop. They've served over 1 million meals on the island so far, which is insane to hear in an island of 3 million people. So there's supporting organizations like that. The American Friends of Jamaica is another organization that I also support, that I would encourage people to get involved with. And also there's another entity called Global Empowerment Mission out of Miami. They're also in Jamaica doing very good work. And then there is an initiative specifically from the government of Jamaica that people can choose to donate to. And I guess I'm just throwing out others. Lastly, I would say Food for the Poor, right? Beyond that, what I'm really wanting to do and why I was excited to get on your show and have this conversation is we are an entrepreneurship and investment ecosystem. And ultimately what we try to do is drive investment into the Caribbean region and new enterprise, right? The building of new businesses, finding people who can value what the Caribbean has to offer and participate economically in the outcomes, both through investing capital and through their entrepreneurial know-how. And what the Caribbean really needs at this time, especially Jamaica, is to be able to open up to greater value than we currently have and that we have on the islands and what we can create. And I'll give you a simple example. In this relief effort, I am on the cusp of receiving about $275,000 worth of a nutritional product, I won't say the name, to be distributed on the island of Jamaica starting early next year. This is coming from one single email, so just the value of relationships, and it's coming from a company that does not sell its product in Jamaica. We need to reach more and more people who haven't thought of Jamaica in this way, haven't thought of the Caribbean in this way, but can hear a message like what I'm sharing today and reach out and want to support. And that's where we are.
Yeah, I love this. The idea of not letting a good crisis go to waste. Yeah, kind of comes to mind here. And I'll just kind of piggyback off of something that you said a little bit ago here that is actually consistent with that. The devastation was dramatic. The largest hurricane ever recorded, making landfall. In that, we've got the humanitarian needs, obviously, that need to be met, but there's also an opportunity to rebuild Jamaica in a different way that literally has it be kind of the keystone of a developmental cycle in the Caribbean that could be phenomenal if you can get things lined up effectively. And it's not going to look like it was before. It's good, yeah. With what's emerging today, technologically, demographically, there's an opportunity to do some fascinating developmental work. What is the dream that I'll just kind of personalize this. What would you like to see that look like? And magic wand here, just wave it. We got 10 years. In 10 years, what has happened in 10 years?
That feels like a bit of a loaded question. Years ago,
yeah, it is a loaded question.
I did an interview with a Forbes journalist, and the headline came out, and it said, "Can this man turn Jamaica into the next New York, Dubai, London, etc. of the world?" And it was very unexpected for me to see that headline. What I want to see for Jamaica is simply better. It's not necessarily trying to position us as looking like New York, Dubai, or London, but being able to create a space for our people that delivers opportunity similar to the landscapes of places like New York, Dubai, and London. Mm-hmm. We have our own vernacular when you talk about the built environment and what the place can look like. And, people have naturally different ideologies, especially when you consider Jamaica as the birthplace of cultures like Rastafarianism and such like that. So you're going to have all these different visions for what Jamaica can look like from a built perspective. And for me, that's fine. The biggest focus, in my view, of what a promising future Jamaica looks like is that people are able to find themselves in a space where they can build on their individuality and they're able to create meaningful life outcomes for themselves. And we're not caught, and I'm careful to say, not putting myself in these shoes. I don't want to see our people constantly caught in this space of survival as opposed to being able to thrive. So that's the trajectory I look at for the next 10 years. You know, a lot of the devastation in Jamaica has been a result of the living standards of some of the people that were affected, right? You're talking about board homes and such like that. And so, you know, there is a need for a new economic trajectory that allows these people to find themselves with more stable footing, right? And being able to build in a more sustainable, resilient format that can resist the impacts of future disasters such as the one that hit Jamaica back in October. So I hope I've answered, but that would be my vision.
So, you know, I lived in 1989. I lived through Hugo, which came through, which is a high category 4. And what you spoke a little bit about how the community came together after this, and the one of the huge upsides of that was getting to know your neighbors and eating at the same tables, and just the camaraderie and the community that was built from that was such an amazing thing to see, and the spirit of the community coming together to solve its own problems, because, you know, the government couldn't. It's such a massive scale. You had to take those trees out of your roof. You know, you and your neighbors. You know, you had to move the trees out of the roads because the civil, I mean, the services were overwhelmed. How do you keep that community going and that intensity going? How do you because this is a long-term recovery, right? How do you, from your view, how do you keep that energy alive and that spirit alive and that sense of community alive so that things can get rebuilt and things don't, the attention stays where it needs to stay?
So I think the major way to keep people engaged in the way that they have been is, one, through transformation. So people seeing transformative results occur over time is very important. And then 2, for the ecosystem to consistently evolve, right? So that more and more people and players are being added. Jamaica, through this, has experienced a level of solidarity that I feel like, in my experience, I've never seen anywhere else, in terms of the level of global interest and commitments that have been made by organizations. Once again, many instances where they don't even operate on the island, deciding that they see a value that they should contribute to. This is primarily on the philanthropic lens. And so what I'm looking for now is to build that out into the entrepreneurial and investment side. But yeah, I think the major way that people will stay on this, because we're seeing something we've never seen before, or at least not in my generation, in terms of the level of community that Jamaica is now experiencing, is that people just start to see change and transformation, and the rebuilding efforts start to communicate something that looks different to what was there before. I think if we go down the path of creating what was destroyed or recreating what was destroyed, we're going to very quickly lose what this momentum currently looks like. And I want to be cautious with even some of these words that I'm using, like momentum, etc. You know, there's still people who are living without roofs, who are unsheltered, etc. in Jamaica. There are desperate needs that need to be seen and given attention. But at the same time, you know, as an architect by training, I believe in looking to the future, and I believe you can't call on problem solvers when you need them. You need to, you know, open the door and send out the invitation. And I'm sending out the invitation to let folks know that Jamaica is interested in a new paradigm of entrepreneurship and investment, and to get a new audience of leaders involved in the new Jamaica that should emerge from a crisis like this.
He's a messenger for innovation and entrepreneurship in a country that has that momentum and an opportunity to come back better than ever. He was on as Young's Entrepreneur of the Year in 2024. President Obama, one of my favorites, has honored him as well at the World Economic Forum, seeing every highest level entrepreneur trade of Forbes, Wall Street Journal, New York Times as a global leader. It is time that we support him with Tech Beach Retreat. We need to put our money and our effort behind the great innovators and leaders, investors and community builders like Kirk Anthony Hamilton. What an honor it is to have you here. We appreciate you. We'll have you back. Anything we can do to help spur the investment and innovation in Jamaica so that we create, like we have in Africa, Blaine and I, a sustainable village, one that can withstand even greatest winds that we face, as you and Blaine have faced some big wins lately. We appreciate you and are here to support you. Kirk Anthony Hamilton, please come back and join us and let us know how we can be of service and of value to you and your.
Thank you for having me. Your team has been amazing. Pleasure to meet you both, Rhett and Blaine, and keep up the good work. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. See you soon. Incredible Kirk Anthony Hamilton. As we move into overtime on Office Hours, episode 824, I'm going to start amazing at Power. What's your takeaway of the day, my brother?
Man, I just love seeing people doing world-changing stuff, man. I just like these guys just are inspired. How about that? Inspired. I like that.
I love it. And Mr. Blaine Bartlett, turning possibilities into reality. As always, hold up Fundamentals, because I heard that's a fairly good book.
Fundamentals. One more time with feeling. Voila.
Blow your mind with Fundamentals. All right, what's your takeaway of the day?
For the sake of what? That's the takeaway. We're going to rebuild for the sake of what? Well, people have an opportunity to thrive in their life. We're going to look at entrepreneurship in a different way. For the sake of what? The idea of doing something, if we can't answer the question for the sake of what, that's where inspiration, pick up on your inspiration note here, Rhett. Inspiration is an answer to, or it's the experience of for the sake of what matters. I'm now inspired to go do that. Completely different than motivation. Completely different than motivation.
Yeah, and as I've learned from you, completely different than I'll be happy when we move things to for the sake of what. My takeaway is taken from Bob Marley. And if anyone has read the biography of Bob Marley, watched a movie of Bob Marley, thinking of Jamaica, there's an important scene when the Rastafarian leader, he says, what's the message? And he said, I'm the messenger. He said, maybe you're the message. And I think the three valuable guests that we have, they're more than messengers. I think they actually are the message. And hopefully all of us with the young leadership and innovation and engagement of these great leaders, that will be okay. We don't need more messengers. Maybe we need a better message for the sake of making a lot of money, helping a lot of people, and having a lot of fun. I have two of my cohorts in that mission, two of my mentors, two extraordinary individuals and leaders around the world. Read books, support their masterminds, follow them. The incredible Blaine Bartlett, go to blainebartlett.com. And of course, the author of Fundamentals, my dear friend, Rhett Power. Thank you so much, both of you, for being a part of episode 824 of This Hours. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, David.
Be the message for the sake of all. And that's what we do here in Office Hours. If you want to join me, I'll be in New York City on Saturday doing a meetup, 8:30 a.m. at the Westin at Grand Central Station. Take a train in from DC, take a train in from North Carolina, take a train in from Long Island. It doesn't matter. I'll be right there at the train station, Grand Central Station, 8:30 a.m. on Saturday, 8 up there. And if you're in Ecuador, a couple of people already reached out, very first meetup in Ecuador. And then I'll be back in Orange County for the Cali Power VIP dinner and meet up there in Orange County. Then the crew in 2026, starting on a journey of 210 cities. That's my objective. Do Tanzania, back to Dubai, and then to Florida, all before my birthday. And that's January 11th, 2026, 1/11, the sign of an angel. As your beloved servant, David Meltzer, beloved servant, I am here to be of service and of value to you. If you want to be invited and informed, we have a text community to invite and inform you. That's 949-298-2905. If you don't want to be invited, don't want to be informed, do not text me at 949-298-2905. Otherwise, to join us, david@dmeltzer.com. Remember, most importantly, the message for the day: be more interested than interesting. Please be kind. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. GG.